From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In the NOCO. I'm Erin O'Toole. There are dozens of climbing routes on the famous Flatirons in Boulder. And until recently, all of the routes on those monumental rock formations were installed or mapped out by men. That changed recently when two female climbers collaborated to install a new route on a section of the Flatirons known as the Maiden Formation. The route and why it matters to the climbing community is explored in a new documentary called Here to Climb. In one scene, climber Lynn Hill talks about creating the route with help from fellow climber Sasha DeJulian.
It's such a beautiful formation. For Sasha and I to do a new route here would be a great achievement for us, but also a gift to the climbers. Once we've got it all bolted, the fun part starts.
Sasha, whose career is the focus of the documentary, is a younger climber who's won many competitions at a young age. Lynn is a veteran climber who became famous as the first person, male or female, to scale unassisted an area on Yosemite's El Capitan called the Nose. Sasha and Lynn are here to talk about the new route and the documentary, which is available to stream on Max. Sasha and Lynn, welcome.
Thank you, Erin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great to chat.
Lynn, I'm going to start with you. You and other women have been a big part of the climbing scene for decades. Why did it take so long for the Flatirons to have their first female-installed route?
Well, this climb that we did took a lot of effort, took multiple days over the period of a winter. And I think that just to organize such an effort and to have the skills to be able to manage putting up a route on such an overhanging and traversing formation really requires a lot of desire and the skills to do it.
And I noticed you mentioned it takes multiple days to do that. Are you just testing out different ways to climb up? I'm trying to wrap my head around what the process is like.
There were many phases to this process. First, we had to pick out a line that hadn't been done on this formation, and we chose this formation because of its beauty and its airy location. Mm-hmm. And once we spotted the line, we had to go about setting a rope so that we could get onto the rock and climb it to make sure that it was possible. It's a very difficult climb, and if there were just a few less holds on that face, it wouldn't be possible. Mm-hmm. And since the wall doesn't go straight up and down, if you put a rope straight over it, you're not going to be able to reach the last section, which is overhanging. So you have to be able to climb up from the bottom and get some protection in the face so that you can even be there to try the moves. And then you also have to clean the rock because sometimes virgin rock has loose sections that you have to eliminate so that it doesn't fall on you or anyone afterwards. You want to make sure that it's a safe climb.
Sure.
And when you place the protection, they are expansion bolts. So you have to drill holes, which means obviously that you have to be hands-free. So if you're on an overhanging face, hands-free, you've got to be attached to the rock without using a bolt. And so it's very involved process, and we could only attack section after section once we got it established from the ground up.
I just felt my anxiety go up a little bit at the thought of but I absolutely do find myself daydreaming about doing it. I'm just wondering, what is the view like from the top of your route?
It's not unlike being in an airplane, except that you're attached to the rock. But when you look out, you're pretty high off the ground. Because you hike also about an hour and 15 minutes, and the last 20 minutes is straight uphill. So you're already pretty high up before you even start the climb. And when you get to the top on this particular formation, it's one of the highest. So you feel like you're above the other Flatirons that you see in the distance. And of course, when you look east towards Denver, you see the plains. And actually, we did see literal planes when we were up there, people flying by on gliders. And it was an amazing location.
And Sasha, you both live in Boulder. What makes the Flatirons so fun to climb and at the same time so challenging?
The Flatirons are really unique formations and have really incredible, strong rock. It's always really fun to climb in your backyard with such scenic landscapes. And it's really what brought me from the East Coast over to Boulder was the incredible amount of rock climbing that exists.
Now, Sasha, you've been all over the world conquering very difficult to impossible climbs or near impossible climbs. What went through your mind when Lynn proposed working on this route right here at home?
It's hard to turn down a project with someone that you look up to so much. And when Lynn brought this idea to me, I thought it was a really great idea because, first of all, it's wild that more women haven't developed new climbs together. And the camaraderie of coming together and developing something new and having this open space of finding out if something that's never been done is possible was a really engaging process to embark on.
Lynn, you called your new route the Queen Line. Without getting too technical for non-climbers like me, what's it like to climb the Queen Line?
Well, this was a very unique line. The formation is about 300 feet high, and it was broken up into 3 sections, and each of the sections got increasingly more difficult until the very last section that's overhanging and traversing with very powerful moves. And when we first looked at this face, we weren't absolutely sure that it would be possible, but we had faith and we saw little formations that looked like we could hang on to them. But when we first scouted this route, we were hanging from a rope far away from the climb. We could not even get our fingers on the holds.
Lynn, I have to ask you about a scene in the documentary where someone loses their footing on the route and ends up dangling in the air. I don't think I can keep my eyes open for it. It's too terrifying. What is the hardest part of this new route?
I believe you were talking about when I fell on that last section, and there's not much you can do. If you fall, you're falling into space, and it's a very unique situation because you can't just lower somebody back down to the ground because we're up too high. The rope is not long enough. So in that scene, you see Sasha reach her arm out, and she grabbed my hand and pulled me back onto the belay station where we were set up. So it can be pretty intimidating to imagine falling into space like that.
And Sasha, I want to ask you, I know that you are also an inspiration to new climbers, young climbers. What makes you proud of creating the first female installed route on the Flatirons?
Well, it makes me proud to team up with Lynn and create something that can exist for future climbers of multiple generations. As Lynn identified, Queen Line is such an iconic line up the maiden feature, and it really means a lot to leave a climb that hopefully inspires more women as well to think outside of the box and put up some climbs of their own.
I want to thank you both so much for talking with me today, Lynn and Sasha. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us.
Sasha DeJulian and Lynn Hill are featured in the documentary Here to Climb. It's available to stream now on Max. And that's it for us today on In the NOCO. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.